We were meant to start seeing the release of 12 hostages, women and children, from tonight, just an hour away. Why has this been delayed? Do you think Hamas is playing games here?
Look, it's very difficult to say whether they're playing game, but they are trying to reach a little bit more in that agreement, and they're trying to bargain more. The deal is not closed and is not completely signed now. If there are going to be major changes, this will have to be voted again in the cabinet, and there will have to be another 24 hours to be given to the public to appeal on it. So I guess that they can't make any major changes because that's going to postpone it already to next week. From what we've told, that it will probably be closed within a few hours. And then on Friday, they are going to be releasing the first few, hopefully.
Look, the reaction from many people I speak to and many Jews around the world are, why is it 3-1? Why 150 Palestinians for one Jewish people? Why are more Palestinians, especially criminals, whereas these are innocent Israelis? Why 3-1? Why couldn't Israel reach a deal where it was 1-1?
It's a good question, Sharri. And, time after time, we have paid immense prices to keep our people safe time after time. I mean, look on the Gilad Shalit deal when we tried to bring him home, and that cost us a great amount of life after the releasing of thousands of terrorists with blood on their hands, when the first thing they did back is going back into those activities and have murdered more civilians. And we've learned that lesson, and that's why we couldn't agree to the deals that were brought before. I can't tell you that we're happy with this deal. Obviously, we are paying a price, and we understand what will happen with those people who are released, because time after time, those people who've been radicalized are not being rehabilitated. They don't remorse their actions. They don't feel the guilt. On the contrary, they're proud of it. Their community sees them as heroes. They're being paid for it, like 10 times more than the average salary. And so you can't be rehabilitated from being radicalized if you don't understand that you committed a crime, if you feel like you're a hero, if you're being praised and paid for it. But at the same time, this price is a price that we feel we need to pay for the release of our loved one, for the release of our families, of the children, of the women. It feels bitter on the other side because we do want all of them. We want also our husbands and our grandparents and our sons. And
exactly. Sharon, look, I want to ask you as well. I had some inside information that I'd love to ask you about, that there's been this mismatch between the number of hostages Israel believes are being held in Gaza and the number that Hamas say they have. So what I've been told is that indicates that some of the hostages might be held by other terrorist groups, or Hamas doesn't actually know where they are.
Yeah, so two things. One, we still have Israeli citizens who are being kept in Gaza from prior combats. And I speak about Oron Shaul and Hadar Goldin and Avera Mengistu. We are still waiting for them, and they know perfectly where they are. And the other thing is that after Hamas terrorists have invaded Israel and explode and cut down the fences, they actually called down not just more Hamas activists, but just a mob that came in and started robbing and abusing the bodies and did a complete chaos, and most probably have taken hostages into Gaza as well. So they can't give us the full number, but what we are comforted in is that it has been promised that the Red Cross will enter and will visit all of our family members and our hostages. And I hope that in this way we'll be able to reach some information about them.
Yeah. Sharon, we've only got a minute before we're out of time, but just very quickly, the Australian government here has announced that we're going to be giving temporary visas to 860 Palestinians from Gaza. These are people who are not Australian citizens. The opposition here has expressed some security concerns about whether they might have links to a terror group or just anti-Semitic sentiment. Do you think those concerns are valid?
Look, I do think these concerns are valid, and it really depends on who you're bringing in. There was a research done in Denmark. There was about, I think it was a few thousand Palestinian refugee. And a few years later, they've done a research, and it showed that about, I think it was 62% of them had already a criminal record. I think that like more than 30% of their children had a criminal record. This is something that needs to be followed. It's when people have been radicalized and believe ideology in that Islam has to rule the world, that Sharia laws have to come to be the law of humans. This is a dangerous thing, and it doesn't matter where they are. There has been terrorist attack in Europe and in America. So I say it with a lot of careful. Of course, it has to be in-depth investigated and seen their background, and the people that are actually coming in probably need to be monitored as well. But at the same time, it's important to also point out the hypocrisy of the Arab world. They are demanding from Western countries to absorb and to take in Palestinian refugees when they won't take even a single one.
Look, good point. It's a very good point. I'm sorry, Sharon, we are completely out of time, but it's an excellent point, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the program.